Welcome back to the One to Know podcast, brought to you by Penn State Student Affairs. I'm Zach Allen,
I'm Sam Woloson.
and Penn State football is back after a bye week, a week off. Even though there wasn't a game, there was some interesting stuff to talk about, including the press conferences. Those are always interesting, but I feel like it was at a heightened level this week, and we'll also dive into UMass and what the game could potentially look like, and also what this game could do for Penn State looking forward. But first, going back to the press conferences, Sam, what was your take on that? I know you were at both of them, and what'd you think about Wednesdays specifically?
Yeah, I would say it was a lot more lively than our normal Tuesday press conference. So James Franklin was asked a question about scheduling, specifically non-conference scheduling, and he said a certain team in the Big Ten has been buying out their games and has been scheduling easier opponents. And on social media, a lot of people took that as a jab at Michigan, who plays a pretty notoriously easy non-conference schedule. So that was a whole storm in itself. And then Wednesday, during that media, James Franklin said that was actually a compliment to the team he was referencing. And he said that team has had a lot of great success. And it kind of raises the question, do you think that model that Michigan runs with 3 very easy non-conference games, do you think that's the way of the future?
Yeah, going back to the quote being taken out of context, when he originally said it, to me it didn't seem like a malicious attack at someone else or, taking a shot at another program. When I initially heard it, my mind did drift to Michigan, although I didn't think he was saying it like it was a shot. I think he was just saying, there are teams that are buying out contracts, because right before and right after he was like, scheduling an easier non-conference schedule is kind of magnified now with the increased difficulty in the Big Ten schedule. And in the past, non-conference scheduling is kind of how teams can control their destiny a little bit. You see this year Penn State played Delaware, and the reporter that asked that question referenced Delaware because after the Delaware game, James was like, there's data that proves, teams that have success and go to national championships or win conference championships play some of these easy teams, whether it's a easy FBS program or even an FCS program like Delaware was. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I made of it. And to that point, coming out of the bye week, Penn State now has UMass, who is not a great team. I think Penn State is at least 42-point favorites, which is ridiculous. That was I don't even know if Delaware's spread was skewed that much in favor of Penn State. So coming out of the bye week, what do you see from UMass as a team, and what could this do for Penn State for the future?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think UMass is better than its 1-6 record would indicate, because it has played some close games, and it did get a lot of talent in the transfer portal for sure. But I definitely see this as a tune-up game for Penn State. Coming out of the bye week, which has been notoriously been not good for James Franklin's teams, right? We saw it last year with Michigan. They got smacked in the Big House right out of the bye week. So having a game that should be very easy, should be winnable, right before a huge game against Ohio State the next weekend, like that's huge for Penn State to try and find some type of rhythm offensively, which has been inconsistent, and just to get tuned up for the Ohio State game.
Yeah, going back to UMass, they're a team that's number 129 in points allowed. They're giving up nearly 40 points per game, which is unheard of. And, whether that or not that stems from all these transfers coming in and there's, not that much chemistry among them, I don't know if that's the case, but it's definitely a cause for concern. UMass is a team that let Arkansas State score 52 points on them, and Arkansas State got shut out by Oklahoma 73-0 earlier in the season. And when you have a team like that going to Beaver Stadium, which is averaging 110,000 fans, that's just that's not a recipe for success. I do think Offensively, like you said, they are a little bit better than that 1-6 record. They've had some close games for sure. Games they've scored 30 points. But yeah, I really don't know if I can see a close game happening or even a semi-close game. So what are your predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Vegas for sure. I think it's going to be a blowout. Like my personal prediction is going to be 52-6. Just because I think it's one of those games where it can spiral really quickly if UMass turns it over, um, or just like makes some mistakes. I think Penn State's offense, especially with how bad UMass's defense is, as you said, I think it's just going to spiral really quickly, especially at Beaver Stadium. So I definitely see it just being a blowout.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I said 55-3, which I think is feasible. Um, Especially when we look at Penn State this season, a big talking point has been their lack of explosive plays. Whether that's because defenses are trying to make Drew Aller throw it short and not beat them with his arm, or whether they're just not there. I think UMass is definitely a team where you know they can get into a rhythm and find some of those shot plays down the field. And I think that's kind of necessary. I don't know about you for the rest of the season. When you look, they have not only next week or 2 weeks with Ohio State, but down the road with Michigan, even Maryland, or maybe even a road game to Michigan State. Michigan State hasn't been that great, but one of the major talking points from James Franklin has been, the lack of explosive plays. Do you think, Penn State can finally break through against UMass?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they could because I think if you're not getting explosive plays against UMass, then they just aren't going to get explosive plays this season because we talked about how bad UMass's defense is. But yeah, especially out of the bye week, I think Penn State should have some new wrinkles. They should be refreshed, energized. I mean, I think they're going to have the time of their lives out there.
Yeah, Penn State could very well have the time of their lives out there, but you know who else could? You could, thanks to Student Affairs. Here's a word from our sponsor.
Endless opportunities are waiting for you at Penn State. Student Affairs is here to help you live your best life, from staying healthy to making friends and following your passions. We're here to help you thrive. We work to keep you safe, give you opportunities to learn and grow, and prepare you to succeed as an alumni. We know that college is about the whole experience, and Student Affairs has endless opportunities for you. Learn more at Student Life PSU.
Yeah, James Franklin has said, it's kind of about staying on schedule. But do you think that would hold up against Ohio State, Michigan, and, some of these other Maryland teams that have hung in with Ohio State a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's definitely less room for error. We saw some very slow starts against Illinois, against Northwestern. They can't afford to do that against Ohio State and Michigan. So I think they do need to be a little more urgent, I would say. Like, they came out kind of lazy, kind of sluggish in those other road games that we've seen so far. But I think if they come out with a game plan on time, on schedule, they can definitely get some points against those teams.
Yeah, and, kind of to wrap this up with, another scheduling type of deal. You said earlier, last year I think Penn State had Michigan out of the bye week. This is as we've talked about, a much different, respectfully to UMass, less skilled team out of the bye week, 1-6, kind of one of the bottom feeders of the FBS. What do you think playing, a worse team can kind of do going forward for Penn State?
Yeah, well, especially out of a bye week, it just helps them get back into the rhythm of things. Just because, they spent a week off, they haven't been playing in rhythm like normal. But also just a confidence thing I think is huge. When you blow out a team, like, you just feel great. You feel like you could do anything. And to have that type of mentality going into your biggest game of the year so far, like, that's only going to help Penn State.
Yeah, and James Franklin's talked about it. He doesn't see it as a bye week. They see it as an off week. And whenever we talk to a player, they repeat the same thing. Whether or not there will be, growing pains a little bit because of a week off, we'll see. But for now, that's all from us. I'm Zach Allen.
I'm Sam Woloson.
You can follow us on Twitter at PSU Footblog and follow our coverage online at psucollegian.com. Peace.